Let's break the mold, start believing, and stop waiting for the other shoe to drop. Welcome to Wild on 7, presented by Pilot Games. We're here until it's here.
All right, welcome back. This is Wild on 7th, your favorite Wild podcast, presented by Pilot Games. I'm Ryan Carter, and, well, things didn't go the way that we thought they would, we wanted them to. In fact, it was the exact opposite. I don't think you could have written much worse of a script for Game 5 in the Minnesota Wild. They go to Dallas. Sam Steele misses a breakaway. Marcus Foligno, 5-minute major. 2 minutes in, boom, out. What I'm most curious about, Kinger, is the text thread, and how was the text thread?
It's not good. I did want to say the first 4 words I'm saying on this podcast, even though I've already said 32 words by now, I wanted to say, we can do this. That's the main point of today, okay? It's not over.
This series isn't over. Simple as that.
I was reassured. I went in the NHL app and I was looking at, and it's like, they hadn't put the final score in. Series is tied 2-2. Now we're down, 3-2. Just got to beat the Dallas Stars twice in a row. Starting with Friday night in St. Paul. Leave the kids at home, please.
Yeah, we don't know game time yet, but
I hope it's at 11 p.m. I swear to God, at midnight, 12:30 a.m. But the text thread was not good. So the themes I'm seeing, a lot of frustration, a lot of Minnesota, what's an upside down W? It's an M. I'm going to start supporting other teams. I'm out. I'm moving. I'm trying to think. A lot of comparing it to St. Louis last year. It's the same thing. We haven't learned anything. It was dark days. It was dark for me personally because it was my birthday yesterday. It is, in fact, Kirill's birthday today, even though I said the wrong day and I didn't even look at Google. Not a journalist. Sorry, Kirill. 2 birthdays. What's the problem?
Moscow on the hill today, then.
Yeah, I maybe.
Some of that Russian sauce.
Extra
day off, get some vodka, whatever you need. Hit the reset button. Happy birthday.
This is how bad it was. Birthday. Get home. I'm not going to play hockey, which I normally do on Tuesday nights because I only got streaming. I can't record the game. I got to watch it professional. We'll get into your antics in a minute. Wife's got the TV tray out, a little sushi from Kowalski's, some gifts.
Wow.
And
first you share burgers, now TV trays. This is the best.
Yeah, I got a TV tray. I got Joe Ryan pitching in the Twins game, the beautiful high thread count Joe Ryan, 5-0 now, suck it Yankees. And I'm waiting for Kirill's breakout game because my good partner Ryan Carter doesn't usually show his hands, but I would say subtly hinted that the Kirill game was coming, which might be game 6 or 7, I suppose. But I don't drink a beer until they score. You know this. I don't know if I've told you this. Earn, not given. I want to be with the team. I want to feel their pain. I want to feel their joy. We don't get a single goal. I'm just sitting there.
With a warm ham sandwich.
I'm sitting there with warm sushi. My dog's looking at it. The wife did make me some of that puppy chow, the peanut butter chocolate stuff. I'll bring some in. I still got some. I don't know if it should be refrigerated, though. It might be messed up. But it was awful. The whole thing was awful. And then I went to the bar and met my hockey guys afterwards and had some drinks with them because I needed to blow off some steam. I thought it was absolutely horrible. Just not enjoyable at all.
I could tell that you weren't doing well because middle of the broadcast.
A lot of text to you while you were on TV.
A lot of texts
not helpful
to me, and they're not like long texts, like 4 words max. Like, this is bad. What do we do?
I'm sorry about that. I'm like
20 different texts instead of just like one long one. You could tell that you were nervous. Like ping, 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 ping.
I think my low point with you was I had seen you a couple times say something on the broadcast, and something would happen like a jinx.
Yeah.
And so I don't think you saw it in time, but we were about to go on a power play in the third, and I'm like, Carts, you got to say just one of those statements that TV people do, like
Ottinger's unbeatable tonight.
Yes, Ottinger's unbeatable. This penalty.
Ottinger.
This penalty kill for Dallas has had a splendid night, and we would have scored, but of course you didn't do that. But I'm not blaming you. But one thing for this pod, okay, I listened to some of the, I guess, K-fan wine line after the game. I really don't want to focus a ton on officiating because we didn't score a single goal. We're going to get into the changing NHL playoffs for sure. But this podcast is about believing that we are going to face paint up. If you have to clean a deer on your way to the rink, I don't care what you have to do. Pull out one of your own teeth like Mike Webster in the parking lot. I want us coming down to St. Paul on Friday night and getting one, and we'll deal with Game 7 later. But I don't want to be in a rerun of last year, and I do believe that we can do it.
Do you feel any bit of blame or ownership based on your nervousness?
Oh boy.
For Game 5, like you could have changed the outcome a little bit. Like I think again, like we could sense the nervousness of you, the fans, everybody else. Like where was the belief that everything was going to be okay?
The truth was, I was more nervous at Game 4, which, of course, we're going to win the series, so this type of thinking doesn't work. But to me, the one that got away was Game 4. That's the one that keeps me up at night a little bit. I was excited for Game 5 cards. You told me Kirill was going to take care of everything.
After Game 4, I was like, I got Wild in 6.
Our Wild thread is labeled Wild in 5. Someone changed it to Wild. Oh, it's got to be Wild in 7 now. I got to actually change that while I'm on the phone. Hey, can we talk about what just happened with you? So Carter's pretty much he wears the C on this podcast. I think everybody knows that. I'm the Hawaiian shirt assistant coach here. Guy doesn't show up. It's I think we were supposed to be here at 4. It's about 4:30. Straight to voicemail on the phone. At one point, the bathroom said occupied, so I thought you were in there, like having really getting after it.
Airplane sushi, or maybe ate some of your sushi. That's
some bad shrimp, but and then actually our producer Huss says, you know what? I wonder if his phone's dead and he's locked out. I'm like, what? If it was me missing, they think I had a grabber and I'm face down brown, heart attack somewhere. With you, your phone's not charged and you're in your car. Sure enough, walks out there in the lot and Carter's asleep in his truck with his phone dead. I mean, this is how great bands break up, folks. I don't know. So tell me your side of the story. Have you been living hard, or what did you do in Dallas last night after the game?
Okay, so post-game, I did run into a little terrorism. I'm at a separate hotel from the group, so there was no food. I was absolutely starving. Went down to the hotel bar to try to order some food before it closed. No dice. All right, where are we going to go? There's a spot down the way. Tried to get food there. Show up. No food. End up ordering pizza and some wings that took way too long to get there. Eat that. No big deal. But up fairly late, but no big deal at all. But for whatever reason, maybe still some
collateral damage.
I don't know what it was. Didn't sleep well. It was fine, but I felt a little tired. But I have this bit where I do not sleep on the airplane. I have a whole Rolodex on the plane of everybody in the back of the bird, the pigeon coop we call it, sleeping. And
yeah, no, that's a dirty trick. I don't. That's what do they call that? TMZ. Yeah, you're the guy taking the pictures
when nobody knows.
Yeah, the one of Burnside's pretty. You're not going to be thrilled about that.
So I can't sleep on the plane. It's a pride thing. And so we were delayed in Dallas. We were supposed to come out, and the weather there was poor, so we're sitting on the tarmac for a while. We get to Minnesota, late? Hour late, maybe a little bit more than an hour late. So I actually got here. I was first one here, locked out of the studio door. I came in and then had nothing to do, nowhere to sit, so went back out to the car and then just
nodded off and
knocked out in the car. No service in there.
You sleep with your mouth open? Is that what goes on?
I don't know. Huss comes and knocks on the window, and it scared me half to death. I had no clue what was going on. I can't imagine the look that he got from me. It was straight confusion. You know how when you get woken up, you don't really know. It's like it takes you a while to find get back to it.
I'm glad to know that you're just like the rest of us. That's good. Hey, I'll set you up into the officiating thing because I'm sure it's what people want to talk about, but I have a different way of addressing it.
Okay.
and I don't know if this is the right word, so I apologize in advance, but as I was watching the playoffs last night, I thought, have the Stanley Cup playoffs become woke or soft? And maybe those things aren't, maybe that's not the right way to say it, but I I remember the reason I love the Stanley Cup playoffs and have my entire life is it's a bunch of guys that would kick each other's, you know, kick anyone that came in between them and the cup down the
Yeah.
stairs, right? And now, best I can tell by this series, is if you turn the other cheek, you chip and putt on the power play, you can walk away with a series victory. It's just not the same thing. It's I remember whistles kind of being put in pockets. It's more rough, it's more violent, it's the hardest trophy to win in sport. And I'm watching this going, this isn't my Stanley Cup playoffs, and I think it's given the Wild an identity crisis a little bit. It's like when we were too small, we used to get knocked out of the playoffs, and now we're too big and mean. It's like, why are they changing how you get on the ride? So has something happened that now the playoffs are like a preseason NHL game where they're setting the standards for the regular season?
No, I think we touched on this after the Game 4 pod a little bit, where the Wild it seems like they're trailblazers, like the game's changing back, and I believe that it's going to become more physical, and that will be a competitive advantage. But the referees and everybody else has the game going in a scoring direction, and it's no longer, a certain style of hockey. It's tongues out, small shin pads, jersey tucked in the side of the pants kind of player. It's not the big heavy dudes running around throwing their weight, winning battles back and forth. But that's the Wild game, and you have to give him credit. Icedean Evison going into Game 5 in the morning. What's the message after Marcus Foligno takes 2 penalties that likely aren't penalties to the group, and you have a certain style of play? And I mean, do you abandon it? Do you double down? And paraphrasing, but he's like, you double down. We can't abandon who we are. This is our style of game. You have a guy that plays a certain way with a physical style, and he gets called for these penalties. I can't go into that room and tell this guy, this is what you've done for 82 games. Now you have to change today. And I think that's the frustrating part, is that Marcus hasn't really changed at all, or the Wild haven't changed at all. I don't think that they've gotten more malicious or more physical. It's just the style of their play. And right now they're catching some bad breaks. And I think this is a good segue into the 5-minute major. That one, by all accounts, is unfortunate, because I think and I watched an analysis, I think it was from
Bissonnette.
Yeah, and those guys, and they did a good job on breaking it down and body movement and stuff like this. But it was interesting listening to the rules official saying that the onus is entirely on the hitter in that regard. Not if the other guy moves, it's still the hitter's job to move out of the way. And when the leg is the principal point of contact with another leg. So it seems like they had it broken down by the rules, and what the referee saw, he believed it was a 5-minute major. And it's a tough break, whether you think it's a 5-minute major or not. It was a play from Marcus that was physical. He had a guy in a vulnerable spot, tough break. But I think going back further, for me, maybe more important of a play was Sam Steele missing the breakaway. So if he scores that one, nothing happens in front of that. And it's shoulda, coulda, woulda for sure, but that's why it was absolutely a terrible start.
That's why I think there's 2 separate things here, right? There's something that's happened with playoff hockey, some sort of adjustment. You even saw what the guys everyone just gets thrown out of the game. Like at the end of the game, if they think
never used to see that.
Yeah, if it's, this is going to escalate, they just kick them out, go to the showers. Like, I've never seen that ever. But then there's the specifics of the Foligno major and all this. My only thing with that is we didn't score a goal last night. So, and I know it hurts the start, but even if you throw those 2 out, we still lose 1-0. We couldn't solve Ottinger, and so that's why it was so frustrating. You did have the two bad penalties, but I mean, if you don't score a goal, you don't win a game.
Yeah, but think about the start. Think about the mentality of that one. The Wild going in on the road. Dallas's building was going to be full of energy.
And they were more physical last night, I thought.
Yeah,
Dallas.
you want to get a good start, and it looks like the Wild have that. Steal, breakaway, boom. And then all of a sudden this play. And if the Wild can, even so, I think they would have been able to preserve it if they could kill off that 5-minute major. But the way that Dallas scored on that was even worst case scenario. Face-off win, 8 seconds, boom, back of the net, Tyler Seguin again. It was like boom, 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 3 right in a row where it was worst case scenario. And I thought it took all the wind out of the Wild sail. They score a 5-on-5 goal. I mean, shoulda, coulda, woulda again. Who knows? They don't get shut out if that game doesn't start that way, in my opinion. If it's not 5-minute major, power play goal against, it's a much different game.
True, and it was funny. So they took the 2-minute to make it 4-on-4, and as a fan, there was 15 seconds at the end where it was power play again, and it was so it's 5, right? They score on the first part, they take a penalty, and then there were 15 seconds hanging at the end. All I could think of was that's more than enough time. Oh my God, this is going to be tough. How are we going to get to the 15 miles to go, boys? But what's your take on the PK? I mean, the stats are
Bad.
Off the charts for the power play for Dallas. I mean, and it comes fast and furious. We're losing draws and bing, bang, boom. What is happening?
Well, so they do have 2 good draw options. Jamie Benn's been an absolute beast in the series. Specifically, I don't know what he was on the power play game 5. He was 11-2 going in on that one, and one of the losses was him trying to go forward, like shoot a puck off of a power play draw towards the net. He's trying to score. That was one of the losses.
So he's got the cheat codes. And who's the other draw guy that's winning them all?
Well, it was Sagan on the other side, but they don't. So this is how every power play starts. Ben over the boards, and he gets to select now which corner he wants. It's the rule. So he selects his strong side. So that forces it to be somebody on that side, and it's been Gaudreau. They tried Hartman. They went different routes last game to try to fix it, but that specific one where they scored was Gaudreau. And then all of a sudden, Ben, and the way he's been winning him too, like he swipes so hard, he's so powerful with it that it can even just go right past the winger on the wall, and it has. Sagan, first step is in on that side. It go off the wall. Then they have a couple of plays that they run off of it. And one is like a little triangle play right back to Sagan on the short side or Ben, whomever it might be. The other one's Heiskanen over to Robertson. So they have a couple of setup plays and like 3 looks that they like off these faceoffs. And the Wild, like right now, it's hard for them to predict which one that's going to be. It's hard for them to defend. And you're in that spot, a penalty kill that mentally probably beat down, not feeling any kind of confidence. You don't get that first draw. It's like, oh, great, here we go again. And, boom, boom, boom. Next 8 seconds later, back of the net. And
You played PK, right?
Mm-hmm.
Back in the day. So
you get to a spot where you're like, I don't know what
you lose your confidence.
I don't know what to do anymore. There's nothing you can do. You're like, I'm in the spot. I'm doing what I'm supposed to do. And sometimes they just go in. And we'll show at some point. Now, I'm not throwing this on the goaltender at all either, but stats show PK save percentage for the Wild right now. Really low. Lowest of all the teams in the playoffs. So the Kill's giving up shots. Eventually you're going to do that. But like Robertson's PP goal, that one maybe should be stopped. Some of them are stoppable plays, and they haven't been able to get the saves against those guys when they need them. But every power play starts off with Dallas possession. So face-off plays, think about a kill. You get 2 minutes. If you win that first one, you might
you got a minute and a half left.
Yeah, you might get 20 seconds, and then the momentum timing of the power play coming up the ice can be thrown off. You can be aggressive. You can be confident. You can stand at the blue line. I think what has happened is just like a little bit of sag has sunk in because they have been so porous, and just naturally you sit back a little bit because you think the way to get better and climb out of it is to protect the house, when sometimes in reality it's the opposite of that. Like, just be aggressive. You might as well fully send it, just make them make 4 great passes, and maybe that's where they get to at some point. But the other part is Dallas's entries, and I haven't checked the success rate if there's any data guys out there. Dallas's success rate on their zone entries on the power play has been extremely efficient. Like Ben has a goal on it. Sagan had would eventually led to be the winner in Game 4 on a PP rush.
That's not how ours looks.
No, and they're just we don't have an answer for it, or the Wild don't have an answer for it right now. And those are the two main areas. It's the face-off that leads to possession right away, and then Dallas's entries are just too simple. It's too easy for them.
Yeah, let's do a little more banter before we get into some of the technical hockey stuff when we bring Burnside in here. But did you happen to look at the fan art that we received for?
Yeah, I did see it. It popped up on my Twitter today right before I fell asleep.
So a guy draws a picture of Carter and I in the studio, and he's a great artist. Thank you, buddy. But I currently resemble a California raisin, I believe. Actually, my business partner asked if I was wearing glasses, and I said, no, those are the bags under my eyes. What did you think of your chin? I thought that was aggressive.
I didn't look at it as closely as you did. There's like a common theme here. You were pretty sensitive about your appearance.
Yeah, I would like to look better than I felt looking at that, sure. I'm not going to be around when I fall asleep and you got your phone either, for God's sake. Snapping a picture of me doing that.
Okay, so what's wrong with my chin? It's square?
I just thought it was just kind of large. I just was curious how you felt about it.
You're like jealous. There's too much testosterone on the chin on that one, or what? And then
and
you don't like.
And I want to squeeze one more thing in, just because I doubt you saw this. So I'm going to be speaking to the fans that stream Bally's, and I know there's a lot of them out there. So you are the people that have
great art. Yeah.
No free ads, but you're the people that have seen Minnesota Lottery, TSR injury law with the nurse that had a tent fall on him, the adopted family that elbowed the kid in the head, the sober self texting you. Anyone who's seen those 4 commercials 450 times is streaming on Bally's. But you also saw Wes Walls. I mean, I'm going to hug Wes next time I see him, because if you think of this podcast, I hope Wes listens to this, because he is going through a lot during these playoffs. He is emotional. I love watching between periods now, because so between, I think it was Game 3 where things got out of hand for the Wild. He comes on between periods and is like, "Hey," or Game 2, I think. If you're wondering if there was going to be carryover, well, now would be the time to do it. And Audra kind of looks at him like, what? And then last night, he's just compiling montages of knee-on-knee hits to make his point, about the Foligno hit, which was a point that seems to be valid. But I mean, this guy he bleeds green and red. I mean, Audra's almost uncomfortable because he is taking it hard. We almost need to win on Friday just for Wes, I think.
That's great. I have a comment on that, but before I get to it, let's hear a word from our sponsors.
It's playoff time, and that means it's playoff beard time. And nobody has your beard sorted better than the folks at Duke Cannon. Whether you want beard balm, beard oil, beard wash, they have it all. Check out dukecannon.com. Use promo code BEARD10 for 10% off. Don't leave this stuff to people who don't know what they're doing. Trust the experts at Duke Cannon. Get that playoff beard rocking.
Well, everybody, it's back. The Aquarius Home Services and Connecticut Customer Appreciation Open House event is happening Friday, May 5th through Sunday, May 7th. Connecticut water treatment systems will be up to 30% off. Salt and water filters are 20% off. New heating and cooling systems up to 25% off. Food and fun for all. And be sure you bring in your water sample for a free water analysis. It's the Aquarius Connecticut Open House event, May 5th through the 7th in Little Canada at 694 and 35E. Details at aquariushomeservices.com. All right, so, yeah, love Walsey's passion, and I think last game he talked about
awesome.
They missed the referees missed the high stick.
And he looks at camera, and he goes, 4 of them out there. 4. And Audra turns and goes, also, we haven't scored and haven't been great on the penalty kill. And he's just like, I'm not finished. I mean, it's something. I mean, as a fan, it was like, I feel you, buddy. I'm going to give him a hug next time I see him.
Let's walk through that whole scenario because what ends up happening is
Suitor high stick you're talking about,
yeah,
correct?
Dallas gets the 5-on-5 goal Marchment.
Yep.
And just before on the breakout, Ryan Suter has the stick above his head
In their D zone.
in Dallas's D zone.
Yep.
Hits it with a high stick to a teammate. I think it was actually Marchment, and then he passes it, and then he's up in the play or however it went. But so it essentially high stick pass to a teammate. Should have been blown dead right there, face off D zone. It was missed, and that's partly because of where they were in the zone. I think the linesman had jumped up on the bench, and he wasn't focused on where the puck was. He was like self-preservation, but there's 4 of them.
4 of them.
4 of them. So they go down and score. And then Dean Evison is calling for the referees. He wants an explanation coming over to the bench because you can have now there's a rule that if there's supposed to be a stoppage of play and a goal is scored, that is reviewable.
Even if it's not in the offensive zone?
So that's what it was, because it was in the defensive zone. We read through the rules on this, and I'll read it to you. It says, if the missed game stoppage is a high-sticked puck committed by a defending player to a defending player, either in the defending zone from the neutral zone back to a teammate in the defending zone, the coach's challenge by the defending team would be unsuccessful. So because it was in the defensive zone.
But weren't they the offensive team there?
No, they were in the Suter was in his own defensive zone. So what they are saying with that
they're
language,
defending because they're in their D zone?
right. And then Wild eventually turned into being the defending team once it hits their Dallas's offensive zone.
So we could have challenged
No,
it?
you can. And actually, I think it was smart that Dean didn't challenge it because it goes on to say a coach's challenge by the defending team would be unsuccessful. The spirit of the rule is to address missed game stoppages in the offensive zone caused by an attacking player. So I think it is possible that Dean could have challenged this, but it would have been an unsuccessful challenge.
And then you're penalized.
Then he would have been
Which,
penalized.
as we've seen so far, probably
And
shouldn't sign up for
I
that.
think he knew. I think they knew that
You
the
had it nailed on the broadcast. You guys said that.
the spirit of the rule was that it's in the offensive zone. He just wanted probably an explanation on what are my options here, or hey, this is a missed call, and bring it to the referee's attention. But there's no doubt that was a missed call, should have been a stoppage, and therefore shouldn't have. Well, the play shouldn't have been able to continue far enough along for Dallas to score the goal.
By your marbles theory, though, I felt like we had a whole bunch of power play opportunities. Doesn't hurt when number 4 is the one going to the box most of the time either. Some of those seemed to be phantom, not all of them, but it did feel like they were trying to push some things back into the other pocket. But
Cough button.
I mean, we got some looks, on the power play. Our power play, we'll get into that with Burnside a little more, but you had that play, and then was it last night that Reeves takes the stick to the
High
face?
stick, yeah.
But he's bending over, and it's a follow through, and that one to me was. Plus, Reeves never gets a penalty.
You can't call it on him.
It's impossible.
Yeah.
It was a frustrating game. But for whatever reason, when I looked at that NHL app, and it said 3-2. If I was looking at a different series, so if I was looking at the Islanders or whatever, I would, and it was 3-2, my natural assumption would not be, well, the team
Panic.
with 2 wins is done.
Right.
But for whatever reason, when it's the Wild, it is not good. We are losing our minds.
And that's why we started this podcast.
This is
To break that mold.
break the mold, stop it.
Like,
We-
are you
we
out
can
there
do
saying
this.
the LA Kings are cooked?
No.
No.
And so
Kings aren't cooked.
like it's possible. And the other thing is just start with Friday. Just win on Friday.
This series isn't over. Simple as that.
Win at home, get back on track. Kirill had 11 attempted shots the last time we played at home, right? So we seem to be able to get a little more space in our building. Win win on Friday and let's roll the dice on Sunday.
There's a couple of components to playoff experience. I think when people talk about the value of it in a locker room.
And we got it now.
Well, yeah, but some of that is about how the game changes a little bit and how it can be harder to find space and, different things like that. And it does change. The other part of it is understanding like the psychology of a series and, yes, the ebbs and flows and how it goes. Let's go back to after Game 3 podcast, right? It was top of the world. It was the most dominant game. It's like, that's it. The Wild are coasting to this one. And then after Game 4, it was, again, almost post-mortem. It's like, okay, here we go. All of a sudden, Dallas is the best team. Wild have no chance, right? It's amazing how one win can change absolutely everything. After Game 2, again, you could have argued that everybody thought the Wild, the goose was cooked because Dallas had their dominant game. And the reality is, after 4 games, each team had a dominant win. Each team had a close win, and this one was Dallas's. I wouldn't say it was a dominant win. I thought it was somewhat of a dominant third period as the Wild tried to climb back into it. They shut it down much like the Wild did to Dallas third period of Game 3.
Let's just give the officials one game. Call it tied.
Call it tied 2-2. Officials won.
2-2. The officials have one game.
I think Walsey did say at one point,
the
Wild are going to have to beat the referees and the Dallas Stars tonight.
4 of them. 4 of them. We got to talk to Audra about that too. I mean, he is. They're gonna at some point cut back into the studio, and Walls is gonna be wearing a military helmet like from Vietnam, just like face paint. I mean, he's going through some stuff. He's in the foxhole with the rest of the fan base right now.
Yeah, it's great. But one win, and then all of a sudden Dallas is in the panic spot. Now all of a sudden they have to go home Game 7 and win one, right? Like the pressure and everything switches just like that, So it is one game. It's not over. Certainly not over.
Not ideal. Not the way we thought it was going to go, but can't do anything about it now.
Yeah, it's just tough start. I mean, you get thrown in the 8 ball early, so you're on the road. It's never easy. So yeah, I feel bad for the guys. I feel bad come all this way and you get put in a position the way we did there early. It sucks.
It is what it is. We can look at, we can think about that game even, but it's done. It's done. We just gotta put our mind to recovery now and focus on the next game. That's all.
It doesn't make it easier. We had a little uphill battle, but it's what it is. There's going to be adversity. There's going to be ups and downs in the games and in the series, and just keep working. They have to beat us one more time. So
This series isn't over. Simple as that.
I think part of what's great about Dumba is not only what he's saying, but just that sound of his voice. I mean, it's like it's just leathery. It makes you believe him more. But hey, we're going to get into it with Scott Burnside here. But first, a word from our sponsors. The Wild on 7th pod is sponsored by Gem Sleep. Even Ryan Carter's mother is solving her sleep apnea. We got these late starts for the playoff games. We can't have Dana Carter walking around like a walking zombie, low energy, hurting her relationships, bad for her health. No, she took the initiative. Gem Sleep took care of her, almost like an Uber for sleep apnea. Gem Sleep is where sleep apnea goes to get put to bed. And be like Ryan Carter's mother and reach out to mygemsleep.com/wild. Don't be a walking zombie. Take care of yourself this playoff season, just like Mrs. Carter.
All right, everybody. Well, I think with the 80-degree days that just rolled through, we can officially say spring is here, which means it's roofing season. And if you're like me, lived in one of the areas that had the storms roll through with plenty of damage, it can take 18, 24 months for some of that damage to rear its ugly head. Good thing for you, our friends at Wild Construction have a great tool on their website. They've got a 3-year hail history map. They've got inspection write-ups and other things that you can check out. Super easy to use. Just go to their website, input your address, and it'll give you info on good, better, best price options for your roof and the damage that you might have. These guys want to help you out. They're a Minnesota-based company, good quality guys. And, hey, man, Wild Construction, they make it happen. Check them out, wildconstructionmn.com.
Well, the Wild are in the second season, the best one. And you know what? It's also slaw season. Do not sleep on the slaw. Get yourself some Jimmy's coleslaw. They have original, pineapple, and fat-free. So you got that paper plate rocking out by the grill. You got that warm burger, a little bit of crunch, and then you add some cool coleslaw texture. It's the best of all worlds happening at your BBQ. Check it out. They're a Minnesota company down from Stewartville, Minnesota, family-owned. Check out Jimmy's salad dressings and dips. Don't sleep on the slaw. Don't you be messing with my dressing.
Yeah, all right, welcome back. Now we're gonna introduce our friend Scott Burnside into the show here today.
You know, I haven't seen the picture of me sleeping on the plane yet.
You haven't seen
actually,
it?
I don't even need to see it.
I would
Because I saw the
act-
other pictures that you took of the other guys.
I'd actually like you to show it to him because I just want to see how it affects the rest of the podcast.
No, we can't do that. Okay, if you really want.
All right, I want to have a look here.
Yeah, let's get a look at
Okay.
this Burnside sleeping. Where is that darn thing?
It was very rough.
Yeah, it's a rough flight. Today was a rough flight too.
Oh, that's a very.
We'll get fan art done of that.
Oh my goodness. All right.
So, but yeah, let's get to the power play. The Wild is as much as we can talk about the penalty kill. The power play has to deliver, and 5-on-5, I think the Stars for both teams have been kept in check well enough. It's just that the power play from the Stars has really been the difference, and that's where they're getting all their points and all their cookies. The Wild guys, unfortunately, on the power play aren't able to get it done. Now, they have 4 power play goals in the series, and the power play percentage is adequate. It's good enough. But at the same time, when you're not scoring 5-on-5 or the other team's power play, is that forces your power play to have to be that good to match it, and the Wild's hasn't.
Well, and I think that's what is so critical and so fascinating about Game 6 is that, like, I don't think it matters to Dallas that they haven't been great 5-on-5. They've been outscored by the Wild 8-6 at 5-on-5. So I don't think Dallas cares because they have 9 power play goals. Right? They have more power play goals than any team in the playoffs. So I don't think they care. They're like, okay, we don't care if you're better at 5-on-5 because even if you're +2, we're +5 on the power play because the Wild scored 4. So, to me, it's about. And Dean Evison talked about this after the charter landed today. Okay, can't go to the box, can't give them the power play. It's going to happen, but you got to try and get through that. To me, the critical part is the power play had the opportunity in Game 5 to make a game of it. They had 3 power play chances in about 12 minutes in the second period. And I thought it was interesting, and I was curious what you thought of this, both you guys, from your vantage point. It looked to me like the plan is to try and really mess things up for Ottinger. So going from high to low and then jamming the puck in and looking for, hoping that the rebound comes to a clean guy or whatever it is, as opposed to, well, let's look from the half wall shot, or let's look for Klinger trying to get a shot through from the point or whatever. But I thought the first 2 power plays were okay. Had a couple looks, couldn't get it done. I thought the third power play was pretty ineffective. And then when you come up empty there, then it allows the Stars to take advantage of that, what should have been a stoppage in play to score the third goal. Their only even strength goal in that game. But
I think if I'm making an argument for the power play or against it, I should say, it would be that it just they haven't had the puck in the hands of their best player enough. So it's not going through Kirill, and maybe that's by design. Maybe that's something that Dallas is doing. And it seems like it's Klingberg up top and then Johansson near the net. And those are the 2 things. And I'm looking at ozone possession time. So we track this where it's puck on the tape of the individual player. And Klingberg was number 2 on the Wild last game. Kirill Kaprizov not on the podium. He wasn't in the top 3. And a lot of that is power play. And Klingberg is walking the line. He's trying to make it. He wants to be a quarterback like that. And then the plays are quick down low because I think the kill for Dallas is coming up, a little bit of pressure up top. And then they are giving the goal line attack up. Dallas will, it seems that, and the Wild they're prepared for it. They've prepped. They've watched the video. Johansson has two of the best opportunities on the power play with goal line attacks.
Yeah.
And it was one from each side of Ottinger. So he's moving through and through there. And again, that's where I touched on it in the broadcast briefly, but they miss Eriksson Ek, I think, on the power play because he had a certain style that complemented all of the other players on the ice. And I'm not throwing shade on Johansson. He had good chances, and he's getting good looks in that spot. It's just different. Much like Klingberg at the top of the power play is it's a different animal than Kalen Addison. They just play differently. And at the same time, what we're seeing at the end of this is that Kirill Kaprizov, Matt Zuccarello, and Boldy aren't having the puck on their tape enough. And those are the guys that you want to have it, right? So you're not seeing pucks through seams, nothing on the backside. Dallas seems to find room with their guys at certain spots and the guys that they want to have the puck. And Kaprizov, for me, needs to, and I don't know if it's him. It could be injury. This is the part that I think we also don't know. Could be injury, could be something different. But if the power play is going to turn it around, it's going to have to be on the tape of their best players, and Kirill has to have the puck more.
So
Yeah, I there's a couple thoughts. I've had this thought since before the playoffs. I've watched our power play when it's humming, and we generally have a deferring defenseman running it. It's either was Addison for some time, Spurgeon, Goose did it as well successfully. It was an amoeba. This thing was moving around. Kirill was, 10-2, flying around, breaking the box. Zuki, ESP with Kirill, Boldy on the wall. Now it's like they say, if Elvis is in a movie, it's an Elvis movie. It's like they're all watching Klingberg at the point. And I know his stats have been good, but to me, I would throw Klingberg on the second unit, really load up a second unit that's viable. And Dallas has to make a choice about how to play against two units. And I would put Spurgeon back on that top line like we had the first two, because I really believe you're right, Karts. We need the puck on 97 stick. If the difference is having one player statistically sound or having the team be better, and I mean both units, that's one thought. The other thing I'm hearing a lot is net front presence, which we lose from Eck. And the Rube fan will say, I mean, heard a guy at the bar last night, he goes, throw Ryan Reeves in front of the net. I don't care. Throw a big body in front of Ottinger, have him stand there. You can't chop him down with an axe. Not even Ryan Suter can chop him down. Stick a giant human, or Matt Boldy, you've suggested in the past, put someone right in his grill. And but I think they need to do something on that power. I know it's performed. What is it? What's the stats on the power play percentage-wise so far?
4 for 20, I think.
Yeah, I think about 20%.
What is that?
It was 21% on the year, which was the best all time in Wild history. So the power play at the same time, it's like you can't panic too much because they do have 4 power play goals. 20%.
Panicking
that's
again.
pretty good.
We're panicking again.
But at the same time, that's what the pressure that's being applied to them. It has to be better than that, and by force and necessity.
But and I think your point's a good one, John, about the presence, and people forget the ramifications of Marcus Foligno going out a minute and a half into the game. Is that now you're down to 11 forwards, and Marcus Foligno scores a big power play goal on a deflection in Game 3 here in St. Paul. And so now that option's gone. Of course, with Eriksson Ek not in the mix. They also, it's hard to possess the puck on the power play, because I was just looking at Luke Glendening, who was 9-2 on the draw last night, and he's part of that penalty kill. So if you're chasing the puck to begin with, and you're using the energy to retrieve the puck, which I think they've done a nice job of, but you just make it, it's hard. It's an uphill battle for that power play right now, for a bunch of different factors. And they are going to have to figure it out to some level, I think, if they're going to, not just force a Game 7, but if they're going to move on to the second round, they're going to have, that power play is going to have to come to the
catalyst.
Table.
Yeah, it's going to have to be a catalyst. The 5-on-5 scoring is going to have to pick up too. The Wild were deflated, and again, the fancy stats, analytics, Corsi, expected goals, everything favors the Wild 5-on-5 quite heavily, actually. The problem is they've struggled to stay there, and both clubs have. And Dallas, and speaking to the power play, the Wild have done a good job getting underneath the skin of Dallas. Dallas went 13 games at the end of the regular season, the final 13, where they never were short more than 3 times, and 11 of those 13 was 2 times short or less. They were maybe the most disciplined team down the stretch of any team in the NHL. Now, all of a sudden, Dallas is taking, it was an average of at least 4 penalties per game in the playoffs. So they've had to defend. They've been forced to take penalties, and the almost double factor to what they did during the regular season. And where Pete DeBoer's comments post-game Game 5, he doubles down on this. We knew they were going to take penalties, and we wanted to make them pay for it.
Yeah.
Oh, he's
the Wild
running.
are forcing Dallas to take more penalties than they have at all. They're just not making them pay for it.
It's the payment equation, right? Like, and Pete DeBoer is not wrong, right? The Stars have made the Wild pay in spades for their lack of discipline. But it's the balance is, I'm using your term now all the time, the balance of the penalties is about right.
Right.
Like, and I'm sure Stars
It has
fans
been in
are
the
like,
series, I think.
yeah, no, totally. And I'm sure Stars fans are like, like that Heiskanen penalty that negates the last half of the Foligno Major. I don't know, like I'm sure that Stars fans are like, there's some stuff there that's not right, but some of it is because the Wild have been really good at 5-on-5 and pressured them and forced turnovers. And so, you're creating this dynamic where they have had to take some penalties. It's whether you can ultimately make them pay for it. Now, so can I ask you, do you think, like, is there a, to John's point, do you look at changing the units, how, trying to do the, to the net front crashing, with Marcus Johansson? Like, are there things that can be done technically or personnel-wise that you think that will facilitate a better result?
Yeah, I do think that there is. At times, I actually think that the second power play unit has outperformed the top power play unit.
I agree.
And it's a simplified version of the power play. You can split things up, and the net front thing for me is one of the most important parts of all of this, and the nuance to it. And I try to talk about it, and don't always have enough time. But the movement in a screen and the placement of your body and all of that is a matter of inches at the exact right time. And it's giving the goalie the lane that you want him to see, looking around the right side of your body. And I don't mean right or left. I mean the correct side of your body that you want him looking, knowing where your teammate's going to shoot the puck. And it's a 2-inch slide, taking his vision away, making his head have to go from one side of your body to the other. And then at the same time, it's your recognition of that, your ability to spin so that you have a good free stick available to pick up a rebound, something else, to push somebody away from it, to allow a teammate to get into it. The details are minute, but they make such a big difference in that spot. Now, is there a guy, and that's why I say you can't replace Eriksson Ek. Think about how many net front scrums the Wild have missed out on in front of Ottinger, where you see other goalies come over the top. We've seen in this playoff Shesterkin punch people with his blockers. Eriksson Ek would have been punched by Ottinger by now. It hasn't happened.
So many face washes. That's a bad sign that we haven't been face washed very much. We're not in we're not in the snot bubble. Who would you put there? So Ek tried. It didn't go well. Who are your next top 2 net front, not only for the screen, which you mentioned is an art, but also cleaning it up when it does drop down? Because that's what Ecker could do both. He'll piss you off, he'll screen you, and he'll put the puck in when it drops down. Who would you put there?
Boy, honestly, who I would put there right now, if you didn't change any other personnel on the power play, would probably be Kaprizov. Because I think he understands the spot and he'll know how to get free, and he's going to battle and he's going to do all these other things. He seems like the best person for that spot.
Ryan Suter.
But don't you want him handling the puck? You want him to be the one actually shooting it too, right? That's why it's unfortunate you can't have 4 McDavids on your team, right? You can only have one.
We did clone Kirill. There's a couple other ones. That'll help. So what about, if it's not Kirill, give me one more.
Yeah, I think you try Boldy there or something different. And again, that's just my opinion on what I believe to be very important pieces to a power play's net front. You could have somebody else that understands half wall or knows half wall much better, and the art there. Like Robertson, think about Robertson right now too on the half wall and how he approaches. He gets really high in the zone. He wants to be coming north, so to speak, at the net while he's picking this puck up, and then he's got that long reach. So it's a quick little move to the middle and a shot, a quick little pull drag shoot. But Heiskanen, too, doesn't dust the puck off. He picks the puck up on the left side far in the corner, and he slides it all the way over to Robertson. And Robertson's high on purpose. These are designed plays to make it tough on the kill. So then the kill forwards up top are trying to decide, do I switch? Do I skate with it? Do I recover to the net front? And the the middleman on the penalty kill can't vacate the middle with a good bumper. So let's say you have Ben in the middle. You can't leave him until your other guy recovers. Otherwise, that opens up the high tip. Then you're outnumbered out front. So it's a tough spot. If you can keep the puck on half the ice, you're there all of a sudden. But point being, you start to see how all these dangerous pieces start to use each other, and it becomes much harder to defend.
There's no reason White Bear girls hockey should lose a game for the next 5 years with that type of breakdown. And if they do, I'm going to be the first one to find you.
Honestly, that stuff is gold.
I know. I mean, it's like
it truly is. No, it's fascinating, and it is, again, because for the layman, like I'm a layman, you're a layman.
He taught me about long body just last year. I'm catching up.
It is, and it is the minutia of it. But what we say, a game of inches or whatever it is, and it truly is that, and that's what the Wild they're searching for, right? In the next 48 hours, can you find enough inches to take you to a Game 7? And I think it's there. Like I thought Dean Evison was great today. Yeah, we're disappointed, but okay, we got this. We can do this.
Lots of teams have been here. We've been here. You have to go through this, right? We have to go through this adversity to get to where we want to go. And this is a good step for us. This is a good opportunity for us to play our best hockey right now. We've played really good. There's no question that we've had, spurts. They've had spurts. We need to have our best spurt starting in a couple of nights.
The tools are there.
That's the most important message, I think, is turn the page for sure. And I think that it's a good thing for the Wild now that there's an extra day. It's an extra day to flush. Like, just get this one out of your system. I think that was an emotional loss. The way it went, you went in thinking, all right, we're going to get a stranglehold on the series. If we win 5 in Dallas, we'll go home. This will be great. You start to fall in love with the fantasy of that idea, and then it's kind of taken from you in the first 3 minutes of that game. They chase it. And watch the game back again. The Wild, they didn't give up. There actually wasn't quit. After the 5-minute major expires, they start to get things going 5-on-5. It looks like they're going to pull themselves out of it, and then another penalty, boom, that one stings. And that happened a few times. There wasn't quit, and I felt that was encouraging. But by the end of the game, and even in the post-game pressers, everybody looked a little bit more defeated. So it's going to be important for them to just flush that toilet, forget about it, come ready to play Friday.
I wanted to ask you about that. So we're a physical team. We've picked our poison, and I hope we stay consistent with that. The end of a game like that, I'm old school. When you're down like 4-1, and there's 5 minutes left, I usually keep watching because I'm like, hey,
somebody's gonna run out.
Hey, come over here, honey.
This is when it gets good again.
You're gonna want to watch this. This is when it gets good again, right? And as a coach, you're almost like, maybe I can't play Hartman here, right? But they kind of, what's the thinking on the team as a player? Is that at that point you're in a 7-game series, keep your powder dry, or should it be a gong show those last 5 minutes? We're going to drag somebody into a scrap. We're going to bump into the goalie accidentally on purpose. We're going to give Heiskanen, an extra rub or whatever. How do I actually say his name? You keep
perfect.
laughing.
It's perfect.
How do I say his name?
Histamine.
Antihistamine. Well, it's nice to be on a podcast where two guys just laugh at you like they're in 5th grade. Do you think that is? Should it be 1970s? Get the sideburns a little bit longer in those last 5 minutes? Is that an identity crisis if we're such badasses, or is there a time and place?
No, I think you're right, but that comes down to an individual, I think, and an individual's understanding of their role, of playoff hockey, of the risk and opportunity that they're taking in that spot. You think, okay, so let's
Like being suspended, you mean, or what do you?
suspended. It could be a lightning rod one way or the other.
It
Your act
motivates
in
the
that
other
moment.
team. Bulletin
Something
board
you don't
material.
fully know, but there are good. Like Claude Lemieux, I think, was one of the best at understanding that. Right, like this is my moment. Same with Scott Stevens. These are the moments, right? Like if you're trying to take something from me, I'm actually going to be the one taking it from you. You know what I mean? And
I love. See, to me, if
And that's
that's
possible.
if
It's out
that's
there.
if that's the first page of the book, I'm not putting it down.
right.
That's the playoff hockey I know. That's why this has been so frustrating, because it's like watching the socials beat the greasers, right? Like I don't. I'm like, what in the hell is happening? It's supposed to be a Royal Rumble for Johnny, and now I just it's mind-boggling to me.
That's a great S.E. Hinton reference there, by
Exactly.
the way.
My
The
fam-
Outsiders.
One of the best.
Socials.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I think so. That leads me to what I've been really fascinated. Like to me, there's so many storylines. There are so many things to watch in Friday night, and I really, it's been a tough series for Marcus Foligno, right? Like it's been hard. He scored the big goal, the power play goal, but had the breakaway, had the chance in Game 4, and then the penalty issue, and then of course what happens at the start of Game 5. I think there's a real possibility in Game 6 that he's due. He's due for some good news, some good luck, and he has the tools to do the kinds of things that we're talking about, whether it's net front on the power play or to be a guy who can drive the net. And to me, especially you got to score at 5-on-5 too, but driving the net, and if it means that there's a giant 10-car pileup in Ottinger's crease, okay, so be it. But I just wonder if all that's happened leads to something good for Marcus Foligno in Game 6.
Well,
Maybe-
you'd hope for sure, and that's what I'm talking about. I think he understands role. He understands these things in playoffs and how he can change it in a moment. Kinger, I'll ask you, with Marcus, when was the moment the playoffs started?
When he took off the guy's head against Chicago, or what
Shook
game
it
was
on the power play.
And he said, "I have
On
your
the
head."
power play.
Yeah, no, he's actually.
That was the moment the playoffs started.
Big Moose fan, a big playoff guy, as I know the NHL playoffs to be, and hopefully they still are. But even last night when he got ejected, first of all, his beard's coming in kind of nice. I don't know how people are doing in our fan base with their playoff beards, but he was just like, he was almost resigned. He's like, we're doing this again. Oh, okay, yeah. Oh, so I'm ejected from the game. It was almost like he was like, he just can't. It's like he's been walking around this entire playoffs with a cartoon cloud over his head. Everywhere he goes.
He's only finished one game in Dallas. He's booted in 2 of them.
Which I think you're right, Scotty. This guy deserves something good to happen to him, and he's exactly the type of guy you want in the playoffs. Things have not gone his way. I would sure think the universe would start to sort that out.
Yeah, I agree wholeheartedly with that. And bad things happen in threes, man. I could go back to the story on my teeth, and I got hit in the mouth. I'd kept my teeth 9 straight years, and all in 1 week. I got hit in the mouth in practice off a shot from Nino, and then Suter actually on the power play practice up in my mouth knocked the other teeth out, and the third one was in a game, 7-day span. Off a stanchion, in my mouth, teeth gone. Like all 4 front teeth gone. I'd kept them 9 straight years. I go back to the bench, almost like in tears. I'm so mad, like whining, angry, and Andrew Burnett's laughing at me. And he goes, "Dude, it's okay though, because bad things happen in 3. You're done. You're good now. You're done." And so Marcus is done. The slate is clean, and it's ready to go. And he should find a way to stay positive and do it. And I do think that this is a chance for the Wild to once again double down, and it is in compound inflammation. Dallas, I think, has felt the weight of the Wild. They really have, and this is when it starts to pay dividends. It's Game 6, it's Game 7, and are these guys going to continue to go back on these retrievals and get hit and go through bodies and chase these things? And they've got 4. What is it? I think they've only got 1 righty back there, so everything on that one side is going to have to go up. It's on the backhand. Like, you continue to pound that game over game over game. This is when it pays dividends, and it'll be interesting because the hockey gods have almost made it impossible for the Wild to stick with their style of play. But I almost think it's the time where the Wild need to actually believe in it the most and continue to do it.
I mean, you're thinking about Game 6. Is it not like this is sort of a referendum on this team's identity, right? I mean, I know that Dallas was favored going into it, but the Wild probably played well enough to deserve a better fate than being down 3-2. But I think your point's an excellent one, Ryan. This is how you were built, and Dean Evison continues to hammer at it. Are we going to stop what we're doing? Well, no. But they're going to have to walk that walk in Game 6. It's easy to say that, but when you have to be afraid to take penalties. I think it's going to take it's going to take the leadership group. It's going to take this concerted effort to. We do believe that this is how we should be playing. It's how Bill Guerin built this team. It's why Dean Evison is the head coach here. There's a plan to it, right? It didn't happen by chance. Mm-hmm. But Game 6 is that there's so much on the line there. Can you continue to walk that? I don't know. Do you feel that as a fan?
I think it's funny you mentioned Guerin because he's the most positive guy in the world. I guarantee right now he's saying, hey, win the next one. We're at home. There's going to be a lot more space. We're going to be fine. But I think, to me, it's don't say anything about what you're not supposed to do. So this idea of you can't take penalties, I hope no one ever says that word. What you say is, let's play physical, let's play smart, let's play our game. You can't have any hesitation in the playoffs. You can't be worried or wondering if you're going to do something wrong, or you really just have to go out there, play your style of hockey, hard on the forecheck, take every lick you can. You got to be smart. But some of these penalties, it's not like, was Marcus being reckless trying to intent to injure? I mean, which is, by the law, I think is how you get ejected from the game. I would say no.
No, it wasn't.
And so you've kind of got a bunch of bad luck. And, we say trailblazers, right? So I think, to me, man, if you're Jimi Hendrix at Woodstock, just push through. I would rather I want to win, but the worst thing is to not be who you are and get beat. That's the worst, because I have seen the Wild do that historically, where we're trying on different outfits every single game. I will say they've been consistent in how they've played in this series, and I sure hope they stay consistent. And I hope the little group text that the referees are on remind them that it's the playoffs.
I've heard some chatter too that hockey's changed, last change doesn't matter, home ice doesn't matter, and I think that this stat really proves that it kind of does matter. And when we're trying to get Kirill Kaprizov out of what we maybe could call a little bit of a dry spell, a funk, whatever it might be, this is before Game 5. So scoring chances with Heiskanen on the ice versus Kaprizov, Dallas had the better of the chances, 17-10. Or I should say the Wild had the better of the chances, 17-10. With Heiskanen on the ice versus Kaprizov, Dallas was 34-9.
Wow.
I think I just said that backwards. Scoring chances with Kaprizov on the ice without Heiskanen, Minnesota's 34-9.
Okay, yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah, that one makes sense. So that's what it is. So 34-9. So you get last change all of a sudden. You throw Kaprizov over the bench or over the ice, whatever, on the ice, and then all of a sudden Pete DeBoer is going to change. You pull Kaprizov out, make Heiskanen play a shift, then you put Kaprizov out, or vice versa, and then once you get this guy away from one another, because Heiskanen right now, Hintz has 11 points. Heiskanen might be the MVP of the series, and Ottinger has been obviously lights out too.
Yeah.
This dude's been unbelievable.
Are you just trying to say Heiskanen a lot? Now I know. Who cares? Who cares what their names are?
If you get stuffed up, you can have an anti-Heiskanen.
I don't even care what their names are.
But I think there will be a pointed effort to get him away from Kaprizov away from Heiskanen.
Well, didn't we have 11 shot attempts in St. Paul last time on Kirill?
Yeah.
Yeah. So, and what did he get last night he had one shot? How many attempts did he have?
I think he had 7 total attempts, 6 miss. So not even on the cage.
Yeah.
Yes. 6 misses, 1 on.
Oh.
But I thought it was interesting because somebody asked Pete DeBoer before the game yesterday, because the numbers are still the win-loss. crazy in favor of the road team, right? It's,
over the course of the playoffs.
so far this year.
Yeah.
It's crazy. But I thought Pete DeBoer's answer was like, he was like, I don't even want to talk about that, because he said if you lined up all 16 NHL coaches, every single one of them would have 5 at home and 7 at home, and they don't care about the record. And to me, that speaks volumes about Game 6. Doesn't matter. That record doesn't matter. This team has to win one game to stay alive, and they got that game at home. And this is like their Game 7.
It's Game 7 at home.
This is Game 7 at home for the Minnesota Wild. And I thought Pete DeBoer, like, completely emphatic. I don't care about the numbers. The reality is you want to be at home. And this is the Minnesota Wild's Game 7, and we'll see whether it works out.
All right, Kinger, set the scene for Friday night. What do you want to see when you walk in?
Well, I hope we get an 11 p.m. start or 11:47 p.m. At whatever time we can start that's still on the correct day. I hope people get downtown early. I hope anyone under the age of 10 is not in the building, potentially including the little kid that comes out before the game and puts a stick on the ice. I hope we leave nothing. A synonym for wild, I believe, is savage, and I want to see a hostile environment. I want to see a loud building. The game ops have been terrific. I want to see more of that. I want to see a let's play hockey that is off the charts to get us going. And to be honest, you know what I'd like to do when we beat them? I want to play closing time, because that's a Minnesota band, and that's bullshit that they play that after they win in Dallas. That's our band. Those are our guys. Let's troll them. Let's play that song, and let's go to Game 7 and leave nothing. I mean, you know when you shake somebody upside down and all the change comes out of their pockets? As a fan, you have to do that to yourself Friday night, or you didn't show up either.
I kind of want to see a couple things now. I want to see you do the let's play hockey, rip your shirt off, bring the fun back with
way too much pressure.
Tarps off, and then I want to see a few more air punches on the ice. That was Game 3, where Middleton was taking the air punches, Matt Dumbo was throwing himself into the glass. To me,
We were having fun.
they were having
then,
fun.
man.
Yep.
They were having fun.
Physical
I want to
comedy.
see them having fun while they're competing out there a
God,
little
I
bit.
forgot about that. I can't even. By the way,
Let's bring back Mike Tyson Punch Out, Glass Joe.
how did you do this as a player, by the way, winning the I'm exhausted. We're not even.
I'm exhausted too, sleeping in the
I
car.
know. I'm exhausted. I mean, I'm not built for this, man. It's crazy, but yeah, I hope it's a great night. I hope we're a little banged up on Saturday morning, the fans, not the players, and hey, then it's a chip in a chair on Sunday, and we'll see what happens
We're here.
till it's here.